If you're someone that's actively following alternative media, or you're probably very much dialed into what is going on right now, and you're anticipating some sort of financial collapse, financial catastrophe, and it's filling you up with a lot of fear, anxiety, worry about how you're going to put food on the table tomorrow, what will the future look like in these uncertain times. What about your children? What kind of lives will they have as we approaching this imminent financial collapse, or potentially even a meltdown? There's so many different scenarios that are currently being placed on the table. Many of us find ourselves feeling very overwhelmed. And I know I was feeling really overwhelmed because there's so many different alternatives within which to navigate. How do you prepare for everything? How do we place ourselves in a situation where we can feel somewhat comfortable navigating this tumultuous financial path? Now, if you're someone who is concerned about your financial wealth, you may be consulting astrologers, you may be consulting mediums, trying to hear from them what's their perspective, what is coming in the future for the world, what is coming in the future for you. And they may be all predicting some catalytic event that is going to be so transformative to mankind, but yet also has the potential to be devastating, to really shake up the world and result in a lot of catastrophe, a lot of mayhem. And this may be filling you with a lot of anxiety. If you've been following mainstream media, which I hope you haven't, all that they talk about is negativity, trying to fuel up some sort of war. And we know which path they wish to go down. If you've been deep down the conspiracy rabbit hole, then you recognize what are the agendas at play. You will own nothing and be happy. Meanwhile, having undertones of a dystopic reality for the future. Many people are walking unconsciously, unaware of this. They look happy, yet we all know what transpired during the pandemic. And yet, the faith of our lives are now within these really politicians who have absolutely no care for humanity, that are probably even puppets of some kind of puppeteer master. Maybe you've been down the BlackRock rabbit hole, and now you think, well, look at all that's transpiring over there, scooping up properties, trying to unfold the scenario of you will own nothing and be happy, creating a society that is subject to some sort of control from the puppeteers that are pulling the strings in this world. And all this fills us with a lot of anxiety because we don't know how it will unfold. But this is the nature of the ego mind. And when we go deeper and deeper trying to seek an answer, trying to seek guidance, we start to become aware that this is how the mind and the ego operates. Trying to fill us up with anxiety, fill us up with these feelings of tension, these feelings of fear. And what happens when people are in a state of fear? They become easy to control. The puppeteers know that. They know that when they place humanity within that situation of deep fear and anxiety, it's easy to control them. You observe this during the pandemic. So if we have some sort of economic collapse, we have some crisis, many know of the agenda where they're trying to fuel up some sort of world war. So you can block all exchanges, close exchanges, from not give people access to their money, shut down their bank accounts, create a scenario of total dependence on the government for your basic needs. That's what they want, right? They want to put us in a situation where we just can't sustain our lives without begging and pleading and just acquiescing to whatever they tell us. That is a scenario. Yet the majority of people don't wake up and see this very reality. And those of us that are aware of it and so caught up within the humdrum of this current chaotic world, we feel helpless. You feel that anxiety. And it's filling you up with so much of tension because you don't know how to navigate it. That's exactly how I feel right now. How do you navigate this path? But like I said earlier, this is the game of the ego. And the ego hates uncertainty. It hates to be in a predicament where we don't know which direction we're going to go. We don't know for certain how things are going to unfold. And we carry on living this day-to-day life with so much of fear and anxiety and negativity. Thinking about this potential doom that's looming in front of us, and how do we go about preparing for such an event that we're not even sure of. Maybe it's a melt-up scenario where everything inflates to infinity and the dollars that you have is worth nothing. People are unable to afford anything and having to trade on a barter system. Maybe it's a scenario where everything sells off because people are looking for liquidity. And so everything, all assets that you own become worthless. How will the scenario unfold? Maybe you lose access to all bank accounts. You lose access to the stock exchange because governments decide to close the stock market so that they can prevent a liquidity flight out of the country while they engage in war scenarios, wars that no common man would desire. But we know these puppeteers, that is exactly what they want. And that is why they feed it into the mainstream media to try and have ordinary people manifest it, get caught up within the emotions of fear and anxiety. So how do we beat the scenario? How do we extricate ourselves? You have these politicians acting like people who are enjoying the fruits of our labor, who are manipulating the system in favor of their puppeteers, enriching themselves, not giving a crap about the people. Because I see a lot of people complaining about, oh, look at America, it's so bad right now. Look at Canada, it's like running into ruin. What is the quality of life? All their comments are valid because they're experiencing the financial tension. But yet, there's no real catalyst to recognize the need to look deeper, the need to really understand what's going on. And so we end up in the scenario where the majority of people just go along with this narrative. And they express their frustrations, but nothing really changes. And it leaves some of us who are aware feeling rather helpless in the scenario. And some may be saying, well, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you change your own life? Why don't you create some sort of scenario where you can extricate yourself from these feelings of fear and anxiety? And you may be wondering, why am I rambling on about all these things? Where am I going with this video? I'm essentially talking about the feelings that I've been going through recently and starting to reflect on these feelings, starting to take a different, objective, third-party perspective of what I'm going through, what's percolating within my mind, giving you insights into some of the fears, anxieties, thoughts that are starting to weave their way within my mind as we approach this time where many say there is something imminent, something that could change the fate of humanity, that could put us in a situation where it almost serves as a catalyst, but yet it also has the potential for major destruction, or it could have the potential to move us to higher higher realms of living, higher dimensions. Some call it moving into 5D. If you're in the spiritual space and that resonates with you. So there's many different narratives out there. And I think as I start to reflect on it and really take that objective perspective, I start to think about it. You have certain parts of society that are living in a mindset of abundance, even when they have not much. They're taking that glass half full perspective. And those are the people I'm really looking to for inspiration to start to shift my mindset out of this negativity. And it's hard because our mind loves to revel around these thoughts of all these uncertainties that are placed in front of it. And I was listening to some people have an abundant mindset and how they were talking about just crushing the situation, making the right investments, deploying funds in the right investment vehicles, and just being able to overcome all of the mayhem and chaos that unfolds. And maybe they may be doing the right thing. Maybe they're following an absolutely disastrous path that is going to lead to their inevitable downfall. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But what I do recognize and I do appreciate is their attitude towards the situation. I listen to some of the doom and gloomers out there, people talking about real mayhem coming and starting to prepare and go into really find a bunker and go and hide there for another couple of months. Maybe that's a solution for you. But I look at the emotions and the thought patterns that are within their mind. It's a very doom and gloom negative scenario. And maybe the people that are in that space are wise and they're navigating this world in a much more conservative way, recognizing the threat that's imminent. But many of us find ourselves in the situation where we don't know really what to do. It's hard to bring about change while not having surety or certainty of what is really lying before us. What if all this just extends for another couple of years? You're going to find yourself sleeping in a bunker for 6 months, turning off all awareness about what's going on in the world, and hibernating. Meanwhile, the world is just continuing. Maybe things get a little worse. Slow, steady destruction of the currencies, because we all know that the currencies are about to collapse. This debt is just way too unsustainable. But yet, there's still confidence in it and people are still going on with it. So what position do you take? And as I reflect on it, I start to recognize that in this case, it's better to take the position of the person who has a positive mindset towards all of this. A mindset of abundance, a mindset of potentially not taking advantage of the situation, but being in a mindset of abundance, being in a mindset of I'm gonna find a way. Something or some guidance will come from unknown sources to help us navigate through the calamity if it does befall upon us. And it's that time to connect with that presence of God within and ask for guidance, because I clearly don't know what exactly is going to unfold or how to navigate this path. However, that higher intelligence within us all, because we are all part and parcel of God. We all have that divinity within us. And it's about accessing that and asking for guidance so that we don't find ourselves in these harsh realities that could really displace us. And to rather start to live life every day as best as you can with a positive attitude. Try and eliminate those feelings of fear and anxiety. Try your best to do so, because once we find ourselves within those states, we don't make good decisions. We end up becoming victim to controls of others. We don't think straight. We make hasty decisions that often end up towards our detriment. We play right into the hands of these forces that are trying to keep the frequency or the vibration of the planet very low so that they can control it. Because when you take that step back and you look at everything from a higher perspective, now I'm not saying I have the full picture or the full understanding, but the more deeper I got down the rabbit hole, I'm like, now what? Now what do we do with all this information? And I spent so many months with my mind caught up in all this anxiety, because you start to recognize all the connections between all these organizations and the puppeteers behind it, and you feel kind of helpless. And then you take a step back and you start to question, but what is the real intent behind this from a spiritual level? And you start to understand which frequencies they try and place us in to be able to control us, to keep the vibration of the planet lower, as well as our own personal vibrations and realities in that negative timeline. So how do we jump on to this higher timeline? I think it's acknowledging that we are going to have these feelings of chaos, uncertainty, not knowing what to do, but to walk in faith and trust that the divinity within us will guide us to where we need to be, to guide us to make the right decisions. And so that is the message that I have for you in this video. I apologize for rambling a lot in this video or for going down tangents. I'm really just speaking from my mind. I haven't got any prepared notes or anything that I'm speaking of. So I do apologize if I rambled a lot. But essentially I wanted to leave you with that message. If you find yourself in a similar situation, and if you have any comments, put them in the comment section below and share your thoughts on how you navigating the situation. Is it also filling you up with that sense of fear? With that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.